hello, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Hacked and Unfiltered. I'm your host again, Omar Rao, with an exciting topic today in the continuation of the last episode 5, where we talked about AI. We talked about agentic AI specifically, and then we talked about new cyber speed problem we're all facing today. And this episode is going to be in the continuation of the last episode, where our focus this time is going to be around deepfake. We're going to talk about the deception, the executive impersonation, and this new cyber trust crisis which is upon us. But before I go deeper into the new topic of deepfake and deception, I want to recap on the previous episode. And I want to make sure that you all understand that we broke down how AI is helping these attackers move faster. We talked about how defenders can also use AI too. We talked about agentic workflows. We talked about analyst friction, why speed matter, why DSPM is so critical before you connect your AI to a sensitive data. And if you have missed that episode, go back and listen to it. Seriously, you're going to find a lot of good details in it. And because that episode sets this up one perfectly, and if it clicked for you, share it with somebody who thinks cybersecurity is still about antiviruses or password or some kind of checking boxes. Because today's reality is bigger than that. And that's what we covered in that last episode. AI change speed. AI changed all the scale. AI changed how quickly people can write, summarize, imitate, and even act. And now in this episode 6, we're going to talk about what happens when that speed gets pointed directly at people. Not at firewalls, not at servers, not cloud buckets, people. And today we're talking about deepfake, executive impersonation, and human attack surface. If you are listening to this and you're excited about this, go grab your coffee, sit back, relax. If you're traveling, listen to this and save it if you want to listen to it later, because this is one of the biggest mistakes organizations still makes today, is thinking that human is just the weakest link. And this is too simplistic. So I'm going to break it down today. The human is not just the weakest link. Human is a target. And as an ethical hacker, I can tell you this very clearly, that a lot of organizations have spent years investing in protecting systems. But they have not spent nearly enough time protecting decisions. And that is where this gets dangerous, because once an attacker can imitate a voice, fake urgency, or borrow authority, sounds like real enough, the attack stop feeling technical. It start feeling personal. And that is exactly why this matters. Now, this episode or this podcast, I had two options before. My option one was I write down my article, my items which I want to go and talk about, and let 11 Labs or some other platform to record those imitation for me, or those podcasts for me. But I did not take that route. I wanted to have this conversation with you so you understand that what I'm talking to you is as a real person. It matters to me because it matters to you. Because when it starts becoming personal, you start doing the things the right way. And that is exactly why this matters. Now, cybersecurity has entered a trust era. We talked about trust many times already in the past episodes. But for a long time, cyber conversations were focused on specific systems. I would say exploit that machine, steal that credential, drop some kind of malware in it, abuse a misconfiguration, or even escalate the privilege. And yes, all of that matters even today and will matter tomorrow as well too. But the game has evolved. Now the attackers are asking, how does this company trust? Who can approve money? Who can reset access? Who can create certain urgency in your organization? And even to the extent, who can bypass the process? The best one I can tell you is these attackers are looking for people who make bad decisions under pressure. We talked about this pressure in another episode about OT. But this time around, this is a shift. Cybersecurity has entered the trust era. The trust is messy. This trust moves fast. This trust is emotional. And trust actually skips steps. Sometimes trust assumes familiarity. And that is why attacks are so effective. Attackers are no longer only breaking into any infrastructure. They're getting into breaking your judgment. And today, when you look at all these different type of deep fakes and synthetic impersonation, you will see all that stuff happening around you. Simply, the term, because people hear deep fake all the time, they instantly think about something cinematic. Sometimes it is, don't take me wrong. Most of the time it is not. But a deep fake or synthetic impersonation attack can include clone voice. It can AI generated audio. It can be manipulated video. It can be a faked executive video call. It could be a realistic face overlays. You probably have seen those. A lot of videos are happening nowadays on YouTube and stuff like that. And even when it comes to chats, they can be very polished chat impersonation. Believable writing styles, all imitated. And here's the important part. The attacker does not need to be perfect. They only need to have enough realism to create the hesitation, confusion, or even urgency. And that is it. This is where many people misunderstood the problem. They think that if it is not perfect, I would get caught, or I would caught it. Maybe or maybe not. I'm not going to say this, like 50-50, as people say. Because these attacks are not built for relaxed or slow or perfect conditions. They're built for rushed moments. They're built for end of day approvals. They're built for urgent travel situation. They're built for executive pressure. They're built for finance deadlines. They're built for escalation. They're built for high trust internal requests. Under pressure, good enough often beats perfect. You would agree with that as well too. People always send messages on the wrong time, so sorry about the missed background noise. Why this works so well in the real business is you have to be honest, right? Business train people to move fast. I work in a business. Everybody wants us to move fast, respond quickly to our messages, respond or support leadership extremely quickly, like instantly. They want the response back. They want urgent issues to handle very quickly. Unblock access quickly. Resolve customer problem quickly. Open Strait of Hormuz quickly. This sounds operationally good, but it also creates perfect conditions for deception. And now add believable voice, add a familiar name, or add internal language, or add time pressure, or even add confidentiality. Suddenly, the target is not evaluating a request calmly. They're reacting, and the reaction is where attackers win. Here's the ethical hacker view of this, okay? Attacker do not always look for the dumbest person in the company. Again, attackers do not look for the dumbest person in any company. They look for the most pressured person in the right workflow. And that is very different. Sometimes the target is smart, experienced, careful, and they are busy. And that is enough. So if I have to put this in a real world style or scenario, I will give you an example. Imagine a organization, any organization you can pick. They have a CFO, and the CFO is traveling. And the finance team knows about that my CFO is traveling. Because the team knows, attacker knows too. Sometimes people go in on a Facebook and say, hey, I'm traveling to this place. I'm going to this event. I'm going to this. They're always tracking that, right? Because the people overshare online stuff. Executives love posting airport and stages and hotels and conferences, selfies. They're building a threat actor onboarding kit. And that is one of the reasons I was not doing this before. Nobody knows who I am. That is why I was not doing this before. Somebody gave me a suggestion that I should come into this and tell people like yourself about the experiences. But I'm still hesitant. Okay. I don't go on a Facebook and I started on post all these things. I try to stay away from where I can. But some of that stuff, as a CFO or the executive of the organization, they are posting. They are telling everybody that what they're doing. And a voiced message comes in all of a sudden. Think about it. Sounds like a CFO and not like a movie perfect message, but close enough. And the message probably say, I'm about to board and I need this process today. I cannot talk long and I will send details in a minute. Keep this tight. And the email arrives. It references a real vendor. It uses the right tone. It sounds internal. It sounds annoyed, rushed, or even credible. Now the employee is trapped. They're trapped between urgency. They're trapped between authority. They're trapped between fear of delay. They're caught between, or they're trapped between challenging leadership. That is the attack. Not malware. Not an exploit kit. Not some dramatic zero-day attack. Pressure plus trust plus timing. That is what modern social engineering look like. And this is bigger than finance, guys. A lot of people hear executive impersonation, think wire fraud all the time. Yes, finance is a major target in this. I deal with some of the FIS organizations always as well, and have these conversations all the time. But this is much wider now. Attackers can use trust against all different type of teams out there. Nobody's safe. Not to put a fear in your heart, but you know this is a ground reality. even from your help desk team, even your HR team, even your recruiting team, even your legal operations, executive assistants. None of them are safe. These attackers can use trust against anyone and everyone, from an IT team support guy, from a vendor perspective, from a developer perspective. It can be anyone. Let's talk about an example again. Sometime I have to give you a lot of examples to keep the ball rolling. Let's talk about help desk, because that is something which comes to my mind now, because that was recent experience I had. A help desk employee gets a call from somebody who sounds like a frustrated executive. Maybe he is CFO or CTO or CEO is pissed on something. And they say that they lost their phone. They cannot complete the MFA and need urgent access before the next customer call. Sounds familiar? It can happen. Now that help desk guy is under pressure, if the verification process is weak, the attacker does not need to defeat MFA. They just route around it. This is the part people miss. Deepfake and impersonation do not always destroy your control. Always, it tricks people into bypassing them. So, how about human attack surface? Don't you agree that human attack surface is now one of the biggest attack surfaces? We talked about in previous episode cloud attack surface, identity attack surface, application attack surface. That is all valid. And the human attack surface is now huge, because now it includes decision makers. It includes approvers, admins, support team, executives, assistants. I don't know who else, vendors, anyone who moves money, data, access. So why? The question is why? Because these are the people who can convert a fake story into a real action. And that is the bridge attacker wants. And AI makes this easier because it helps them write more convincingly, imitate tones faster, summarize a target better, even create believable urgency. We talked about in previous episode about how polished deception is. And now it is at scale. Again, the issue is not magic. The issue is speed and believability. What organization today still get it wrong? I'm sorry, I'm saying this. But this is where I need to be extremely direct with you. A lot of organizations are still preparing for yesterday's trust attack. They train users to look for bad grammar. Yes. They tell people not to click on suspicious link. And then they run annual awareness models, and that everybody clicks through and they're accepting terms and condition for a toaster. In my organization, I think I got some email earlier this morning today. And as soon as I saw that email coming, I knew that was a simulation attack or simulation test. But that is not enough anymore. Here are some common mistakes you have to understand. You have to assume voice equal authenticity. You also need to assume video equals authenticity as well. Allowing executives to bypass the process is a big no. allowing weak help desk verification process should be no. And think about having no secondary approval path for urgent requests. That is a big no. If that doesn't open up your eyes, treating deepfake like a future problem, these are common mistakes. Not rehearsing these synthetic deception scenarios, that is another big mistake. And the last one really matters because teams rehearse ransomware, they rehearse outages, and many do not rehearse fake CFO voice notes. They do not clone vendor calls, synthetic executive approvals, even fake internal video meetings. If you're using Teams internally or Slack or Voice and they're using that social engineering to go and send those out to rehearse, they do not do that. And if you do not rehearse it, do not assume people will magically handle it perfectly under pressure. They will not. And what a strong defense actually looks like, we need to sit back and think about it. Now, you might be wondering, what is the solution out there? Let's talk about solution, because this episode leaves people smarter and not just more nervous. My intention is not that. A strong defense starts with one simple principle: verification must survive authority. Write it down on a post-it, put it on your desk. Again, verification must survive authority. That means that even the request looks like came from a CEO, CFO, founder, senior leader, manager, anyone, the process still holds. Not because you do not trust relationship or leadership, because attackers trust leadership too. And here is what that looks like in practice today. 1. Out-of-band verification. When I say out-of-band verification, I mean that if the request is urgent, if the request is extremely sensitive, and especially money related or access related or unusual verifying another channel basis, you need to raise your hand, verify. And also from a help desk perspective, these are where some of these attacks are coming from most of the time, which I deal with sometimes. They always tell me that they are verifying identity. So when you pick up the phone, you call your credit card number, the 1-800 number in the back of the card, and you say, hey, I'm looking to get a statement or something like that. They will verify your information, right? They are the help desk guys. They are trying to make sure they're trying to helping you. Maybe they're customer service guys. Maybe they're helping you from a help desk perspective. But they are doing something strong. Their verification is verifying your identity and your information. Also, resetting MFA or changing accesses flow is a real process, not just the confidence test. You have to also understand that finance controls the survive urgency. No rush payments, even if somebody is asking for PO or payment to be processed immediately, that means they need to do the check and balances. They do that, right? Also, when it comes to executive awareness side of the house, leaders need to understand that their voice, their images, their behavior is now part of their risk picture. Sometimes cultural permissions to also slow down. Employees should feel safe verifying even when the request appears to be coming from the top. And this is the major control. Believe me, if this major control is not put in play, you're putting everybody on risk, even your organization on risk. You need to think about cleaner way to explain the logic. Here's how I would explain this in a plain language to you. Traditional cyber attacks try to break systems. Trust attack try to break judgment. Traditional attacks focused on credential, devices, software. Now, these trust attacks are focused on emotions, authority, urgency, and decision making. Traditional awareness was do not click on that bad link. The modern awareness also has to say that, but do not rush because the voice sounds familiar. That is the update many organizations still need. Now you have to think like an ethical hacker sometimes. Let me give a mindset which I use. If I were assessing an organization from ethical hacking perspective, okay, I would not only ask where are the port open, or where the identity are weak, or even from a cloud perspective, where is the cloud over permissions? I would ask something different. I would ask, who can approve money fast? I would ask, as an ethical hacker, I would ask, who can reset access? Who can get pressured under by executives? Everybody does. We work for organizations all the time where we are constantly pressurized by execs sometimes. We had to do our jobs, obviously. Please understand that. Who handles urgent decisions? Also thinking about where does process break under authority? Because that is where the modern trust attack lands. That is the human layer of the kill chain. And if you do not map the layer, you're missing a part of a real attack surface. How to keep thinking about this, right? When I go to sleep at night, what keeps me up at night is all these matters which we are discussing today, and which discussed in the previous episodes as well too. You have to ask yourself something simple. If your CEO calls your finance team tonight asking for a quite urgent transfer, would that process stop the mistake, or would that title push it through? You have to also ask if your help desk got a executive voice note asking for the MFA reset. Would the process hold, or would the pressure win? If your staff joined a rushed video call and saw a familiar face, would they verify or comply? I go all the time. I do not know the people name. I go in on Teams. I hover over their name. I take a look at everything, where they're based out of, where they are. I just want to make sure. That is a curiosity. Those questions keep people engaged because threat feels extremely close. It's not theoretical. We just need to think differently. What leaders like yourself think, if you're listening as a leader, here's a blunt version for you. Your voice is now part of the attack surface. Your image is now part of the attack surface. Your urgency is also part of the attack surface. Your exception culture is now also part of that attack surface. If your business has no structure way, to verify the executive request under pressure, then attacker may be able to weaponize your authority against your own team. This is not a paranoia. This is just modern cyber risk. Leaders like yourself need to think about communication norms. You guys need to think about exception handling. You need to think about trust verification, even finance problem on finance processes. All these help desk resilience policy, your digital exposure, and your response playbook for all these synthetic deceptions. So let's bring this to the close, guys. I know I've been talking about this for a few minutes now, and this topic has been very dear to all of us. There's one message I want you to take away from today's episode. Cybersecurity is no longer about protecting system. It is about protecting trust. Deepfake, executive impersonation, clone voices, fake urgencies, even AI-enhanced deceptions, and changing the attack surface in any human way, in every human way, that means that answer is not just better tools, it is better process, better verification, better culture, better awareness under pressure. So what should you do after this episode? Start with one action, as I always say in the last few episodes. Pick one thing you can start off with. Start with reviewing your executive request verification. Test your MFA reset policy. Test your finance controls and urgency-based frauds. Train one team on synthetic deception. Run one tabletop, please run tabletop on voice or video impersonation. Define one out of band verification rule that goes live immediately. And if this episode makes you think differently, send it to somebody else. Share it with your finance lead, your security team, your help desk manager, your COO, your founder who thinks deepfakes are just internet joke until the voice shows up asking for money. Because this is one of those episodes where awareness actually comes and brings change. We're going to move from trust attack into leadership under pressure. We're going to talk about cyber resilience in boardroom in our next episode. We're going to go in deeper into how executive thinks during the live incident. I'm going to show you inside out report. How decisions goes wrong, how communication break down all the time, and what strong leadership really looks like when business is under cyber pressure. Before the next episode, ask your team this question. If someone trusted in your organization asked for a dangerous action tonight, would our people know how to slow them down, verify, and say no to it? If the answer is clear, then you're good to go. But the answer is not clear, this is where your next security conversation needs to begin. I hope you liked this episode today. I want you to send this to the like-minded people. Give your feedback. And look forward to having you in the next episode. We're going to talk about a lot of cool things which are happening from a boardroom perspective, especially in the cyber resiliency world. Share it, like it, follow. And thank you very much for attending this and listening to this podcast. It means a lot. And look forward to having you in the next episode of Hacked and Unfiltered. Thank you, everyone.